I will now introduce our second speaker, Reverend Ingrid Cramer Doerschel. She is a clergy minister at Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church, a German English church in Edmonton, Alberta. She holds a master's degree in divinity, but she began her studies at a theological seminary in Germany that was connected to a psychiatric hospital. There she understood that living and learning together with all people in their diversity as a natural fact of life. Ingrid graduated on feminist theology, focusing on reinterpreting male-dominated imagery and language about God. Living in the northern part of Germany, Ingrid worked as a congregational pastor, as a chaplain at a Catholic hospital, and offered emergency pastoral care with and for first responders. Ingrid achieved several degrees in counseling and is a certified life coach. There she initiated and supported ongoing interfaith work, identifying social justice, healthy relationships, and spiritual growth as prominent themes evident in her living and working. In 2006, Ingrid came to Edmonton, Alberta. Here she was brought together different churches, communities, and neighbors in joint projects. She hosted many lectures on Islam and is involved with a common word Alberta. Since January 2020, Ingrid is the president of the Edmonton and District Council of Churches. Currently, Ingrid has entered a spiritual direction program offered by the Providence Renewal Center.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Hanan, for this German greeting. Guten Tag. Thank you very much for this friendly gesture. I also would like to begin by acknowledging that we are on traditional territories in Edmonton, territories of the many First Nations, Métis and Inuit. And I would like to thank you for the privilege to be on screen with you and have to been asked to talk about this important topic, boosting resilience in digital age. Due to COVID-19, we have been forced to think about how to reach out in a different way, and hence, in our digital age, we are able to connect with one another, though we are separated. I think since March, we have been going through global collective hiatus or global collective pause that has affected and shaped every familiar element of our lives. And with everything changed for us, so many were wondering when we would go back to normal. And today, nobody's arguing anymore that what is coming will be remotely approaching normal for a very, very long time, if ever. And perhaps you have recognized we even have developed new words, new word compositions like pre-normal, former normal, future normal, and much more to describe the situations in which we find ourselves, and with that, to amplify our confusion even more. And with many others, I find myself clinging to the words of Sonia Renee Taylor, wondering what this concept of normal really is. And Sonia she's an author, an award-winning poet, social justice activist. She lives in the States and in New Zealand. And Taylor writes, begin of quotation, "We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. we are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. End of quotation. Before COVID-19, for many of us, life was shaped by a wide-ranging, continuous pressure felt on many aspects of our lives over an extended period of time. And unable to meet constant demands, I know that many have been emotionally exhausted, were afraid of failure and anxiety. And depressions have gradually increased and are still increasing, or especially increasing now. So let me tell you about my journey with constant demands and emotional exhaustion. I am, as you have heard, a Christian Lutheran minister working in a bilingual congregation, German-English, since 2006. Being a minister is my compassion and my life, and I'm very grateful to be a religious leader. At the same time, however, it can be extremely discouraging and demanding. And as some of you certainly know, to be a religious leader or a front runner or an organizer in different capacities, or simply a human being, we struggle to make ends meet sometimes. So at the beginning of this year, I had to take a medical leave. It took some years to get to that point, of course, years of being disconnected with my own emotions, of not taking seriously my own needs, years of focusing more on my profession and less on my own well-being and mental health and my family. It was and still is hard work knowing myself, as it is for everybody, and what I need to stay mentally healthy. So I returned from medical leave when COVID-19 hit. And as perhaps some of you know and can share this feeling, I was of course afraid of the virus and at the same time enjoyed the slower pace our society was forced to take for a while. And then COVID-19 has taught me and all of us how to live online. For some of us, it was a steep learning curve. We have discovered and are daily discovering new forms of technologies. We have discovered and are daily discovering how to make contact with our people we love, people who live in Europe or Palestine or the States or New Zealand. And we learned how to work from home. We are using and sharing relevant and timely information on social media. We are organizing ways on social media to help struggling people. We are celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, holidays via Zoom and FaceTime and WhatsApp and Google Connect and so much more. We are a creative species when it comes to using digital tools meant to create connections. Is this the new normal? I'm beginning to feel like an artificial life form who lives on 2.4 gigahertz radio waves, a colleague posted on Facebook some time ago. So does the new COVID-19 normal pulls us toward another strenuous life pattern? Whether we are frontline workers, including nurses and physicians and daycare workers, whether we are staying at home with children or alone without children, whether we are teachers, counselors, spiritual, religious workers, are we about to replace a way of life many of us are so tired of, with a new way of life that actually will drain us even more? And in this regard, could boosting resilience be an antidote to a healthy lifestyle? So what is resilience anyway, or what it is not? And Salima already mentioned some of its aspects. Resilience is not just another way of saying, get over it. It's not another way of saying, think positive, work more, try harder, believe stronger in your God, push through it, you'll do it. Resilience, for me at least, is not to summon the inner strength to deal with what life has brought on us, and then to bounce back stronger than ever until the next time. Here's a subtle temptation to go backwards to previous situations. So resilience for me does not mean to just push through challenges as we were Borgs. You know, those who are familiar with Star Trek, those intelligent machines, intelligent robots, you can say, who once in a while just need to recharge their batteries in order to move on. There is no resilience toolbox we could open and take something out of it to boost our resilience. Resilient means to go through all the ups and downs of something difficult and come out on the other side wiser and stronger. But don't get me wrong here. I know how important the small steps are to boost our resilience, such as taking breaks, doing daily exercises, eating healthy, having healthy sleep patterns, having counseling. But resilience can devolve also into a discourse of blame and guilt when it suggests people just to toughen up. Sometimes boosting resilience might lead to shame and guilt when we are not able to toughen up and to follow this one way. It's okay, I found from written by an unknown author. It's okay if you thought you were over it, but it hits you all over again. It's okay to fall apart, even if you thought you had it under control. You are not weak. Healing is messy, and there's no timeline for healing. A friend of mine recently reminded me of Winston Churchill, you know, the former British Prime Minister who led the UK and its allies through World War II. And Churchill wrote, "If you are going through hell, keep going." Today we know that Churchill was suffering from depressions and almost gave up fighting, but he rallied against it because he had people around him that who believed he would succeed. And the Christian religious leader and poet John Donne wrote, "No man is an island," in the 17th century. Let me please quote from this poem in today's language. "No one is an island entire of itself. Anyone's death diminishes me because I'm involved in humankind." Resilience happens in and through community. Resilience is not only rooted in an individual model of change, one that leaves unchanged the structures and systems that are so responsible for the unhealthy life patterns we are suffering from. So resilience is not only rooted in an individual model of change, one that leaves unchanged the structures and systems that are responsible for the unhealthy life patterns we are suffering from. So what if the new normal is created from a vision of a future that comes from a place of resilience to anxiety, pressure, political threats? A vision that comes from a place of restoration, or let me say recovery, restoration, and healing. So what if the new normal is really created from a vision that comes from a place of recovery for all, restoration and healing. So how can we walk together, stitching a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature? Our faith traditions teach us how to navigate the stresses and challenges of life with God's help. Then invite us to view our questions and troubles through a lens that enable us to see God's divine presence in our lives and in the world. Let us find inspiration in the scriptures that can motivate us to live in confident, daring, and wholesome ways. And how to do this, I will talk about in the next part, to be continued.